Aaron, earlier this month, you published an article on The Atlantic saying Trump almost has a point about the Federal Reserve. And you talk a little bit about how the president wants to take control of the Federal Reserve, the Democratic response to this. And you say, quote, the central bank has long abused its power in ways that benefit the financial sector at the expense of everyone else. So while we have political interference, we also have, in your view, a Fed that has gone beyond the bounds of where it should be going. Can you explain this position?
Yeah, so the Fed has ignored the law when it chose to, repeatedly. Congress in 1994 required the Federal Reserve to regulate high-cost subprime mortgages, and Alan Greenspan thought that was a bad idea, so he simply refused to do it. And because the Fed is independent, Congress lacked accountability mechanisms, and what did we get? The financial crisis. The Independent Financial Crisis Inquiry Commission found that the Federal Reserve's failure to promulgate subprime mortgage regulations was a direct cause of the financial crisis, which was totally avoidable had the Fed followed the law. In 1987, Congress required the Fed to give people faster access to their checks when they deposit them as fast as technology allows. I helped write the law that let you deposit your check on your phone. Do you get any access to the money faster? No, because the Federal Reserve has refused to give you faster access to that because the banks they regulate make billions of dollars in overdraft fees. And so the Fed routinely flouts the law, and that's been a real problem. Trump has a habit of identifying honest problems, but then he proposes horrific solutions. Having Donald Trump set interest rates doesn't solve the problems that I've addressed and will make us all more poor in the long run. He's not using the Department of Justice to enforce laws the Federal Reserve hasn't. He's doing a political prosecution on personal enemies of his who haven't followed his policy. So my point in the Atlantic piece was that rather than reflexively defend the Fed as a perfect institution, Democrats and thoughtful people should say, wait a second, there's been a problem with Federal Reserve accountability and following the law. The insider trading scandal I mentioned with the 40 plus stock trades of this Fed governor, it's not the only one time that's happened, and there've been no consequences to any of these other people. They've all been allowed to leave with dignity. The Fed has swept things under the rug. And instead of simply reflexively defending the institution, what people need to do to tell the American public is we have a problem at the central bank. But the solution to that problem is not having Donald Trump set interest rates, and it is never prosecuting people and threatening people with jail for political purposes because you didn't follow the guys. Cook and Powell have acted and followed the law as far as I know. If there's some evidence to the contrary, show it. But instead, let's actually look at the people who have broken the law or other mechanisms to hold the Federal Reserve more accountable to the law. Because I think the American public realizes something's been a little bit wrong in the financial system, which has made massive profits on the back of working people through things like overdrafts.